Tonight, COVID testing sites overwhelmed in a Christmas travel rush as the Prime Minister orders a snap national cabinet meeting on COVID. A critical paramedic shortage leaves suburbs at risk. Family anger as a mother is jailed over a crash that killed her stepdaughter. A grandmother dies in a freak storm in Sydney as the clean-up begins. Families overjoyed after a secret donor pays off their Kmart lay-bys in Melbourne's southeast. And Australia closing in on victory in the second Ashes Test.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Mike Amor starts now.
Good evening. Just days out from Christmas, Omicron uncertainty is sparking travel fears and huge testing queues across Melbourne. The Prime Minister has ordered a snap meeting with premiers to urge them to keep calm and keep borders open.
40,000 domestic travellers descended on Melbourne Airport today in a rush to make Christmas.
It's been crazy. Like, you don't know if you can even get there.
It goes through your head, but you just got to go for it now, and hope for the best.
The Prime Minister sending a clear message to premiers.
I think Australians need to know that if they're going to get on a plane and go somewhere, they can get off at the other end.
But before they can even check in, Victorians are chasing down a COVID test, waiting in queues across Melbourne.
It is, I guess, frustrating to wait in line for 3 hours.
Despite additional testing sites and extended operating hours, locations such as Albert Park, Bourke Street and the Showgrounds were at capacity minutes after opening.
I know, I'm surprised. Yes, it's only been open a half an hour and they said they're closed for the day.
I think everywhere's going to be the same. So I may as well just stay here and get it done.
The testing commander says closures are required to help clear the backlog.
Over the course of the last week, we've seen pretty much 80,000 people every day come forward to get tested. Think about your nearest testing station. Use our website to work out which testing station has got the shortest testing time, and if necessary, come in the afternoon.
Our state recorded another 1,302 new cases, including 13 Omicron infections.
We strongly suspect there are Omicron cases already in Victoria that continue to spread. That, of course, is a real concern.
For the first time in 3 months, no COVID deaths were recorded. But hospitalisations are up, 406 coronavirus patients requiring treatment. Cases in New South Wales continue to soar, more than 2,500, and health experts are advising against large celebrations and sporting events.
And we would look very, very silly if we just said, let's not worry about it and just open the whole thing up. It would be way more sensible just to reconsider some of our larger events.
COVID outbreaks are cancelling NBA and NFL games in the United States. The spread of Omicron prompting a return of restrictions to the UK and a lockdown for Christmas in the Netherlands. Global health systems on high alert.
All at once. This is going to hit Europe like a freight train, basically, and people are going to get it all at the same time, which is good because it means it should be all over by about February or March in terms of Omicron.
The Omicron fear has seen rapid antigen tests become a sellout stocking filler.
We're working really, really hard to make sure that we're air freighting and sea freighting as much stock as we can into the country. We've got shipments arriving every day.
And Jade joins now, and there's updated advice for anyone joining those testing queues.
Mike, the testing commander gave advice that if you want to avoid the lengthy queues, come in the afternoon or the early evening. But once again today, that has proved difficult. Here at Albert Park, the site has already shut, not taking any more cars this evening, and there's around a 2-hour wait time. If you do need a negative test result to travel, it's best to plan ahead. The health department says 4 out of 5 test results are coming back within 24 hours. And for those people who don't have any symptoms and have been getting tested out of concern, they can take a rapid test at home. Mike?
Jade Vincent live in Albert Park. Thank you. Friends and family are being reunited in the top end as borders reopen to fully vaccinated travellers. Holiday makers need a negative PCR test on arrival and another swab within 3 days of arriving, and again on their 6th day in the Northern Territory. Following Queensland introducing mask mandates last week, Tasmania will bring them back from midnight. New South Wales stands alone as the only state without mask rules. Surging COVID cases are putting extra strain on Victoria's weary ambulance service. State political reporter Charnel Vella has tonight's developments, and Charnel, a shortage of paramedics is taking a heavy toll.
It certainly is, and the ambulance union says there's no quick fix to hire and train the amount of paramedics they need to fill the gap. That will take years, so in the meantime they are pleading with Victorians to only call 000 if they're in an emergency situation. Our ambos are at breaking point.
Paramedics are burnt out, they're exhausted.
And our specialist Micah paramedics are responding to non-urgent calls, including patients complaining of back pain.
It's incredibly busy, the demand's incredibly high, but certainly our Micah resources right across the city are starting to become really stretched, and we need them available for the highest acuity cases, the patients who have the greatest life risk.
Staff shortages last Friday night meant Ambulance Victoria couldn't roster Micah crews in Preston, Altona, Central Melbourne, Roxburgh Park and Hillside, only leaving crews in Tarneit and Sunshine to cover more than a third of Melbourne's population.
Victorians' lives have been put at risk. Sadly and tragically, people are dying because they can't get an ambulance in time.
We have identified a shortage in terms of trying to get more recruits to come through. We've got the world's best paramedics in Victoria. Essentially, we need more of them.
There were more staff shortages on Saturday night, with no Micah crews in Tarneit, Roxburgh Park, Central Melbourne and Watsonia.
We're hearing that commonly, that there'll be no Micah for the entire western suburbs. We just haven't recruited enough into those areas.
The ambulance union needs hundreds of paramedics to fill the gap, and that could take years. In the meantime, they're asking people to help them to help others.
Sadly, what we see is a lot of people relying on 000 and relying on emergency departments rather than seeing their GP. So, catch up with friends, catch up with family, but catch up with your doctor as well.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
An ice-using mother could walk free in 22 months after pleading guilty to a crash that killed her 7-year-old stepdaughter. Furious family members say Kylie Alali got off lightly because she said sorry to the judge.
Grandmother Liz Allen and crash survivor Kelly Bounds aren't related, but they are united in grief.
As long as you say you're sorry, 22 months is an acceptable sentence for ruining so many people's lives.
In 2018, Kylie Alali was fatigued and coming down from methamphetamine when she smashed head-on into Ms. Bounds' car. Alali's 7-year-old stepdaughter, Amber Rose Allen, was killed.
How hard has the past few years been on you?
Alali was today jailed for 3 years and 4 months, but she could be out on parole in just 22 months.
Your remorse, your regret, and the consequences of you suffering the loss of your stepdaughter is a matter that I can and do take into account as some extrajudicial punishment.
Before sentencing, the 32-year-old apologised to the magistrate, but still hasn't said sorry to her family.
She hasn't apologised to me. She's apologised to the court. She hasn't apologised to me.
The court heard how Kylie Alali was repeatedly dozing off in the moments leading up to the fatal crash, and how she tested positive to methamphetamine at a roadside drug test just weeks earlier.
Amber was a beautiful child. She hated to see anybody unhappy.
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
A woman killed in yesterday's savage Sydney storm has been identified as a grandmother due to celebrate her 69th birthday today. 2 other women remain in hospital with critical injuries, hit by a tree that toppled in wind gusts over 100 kilometres an hour.
It's called a microburst, the weather equivalent of a bomb.
Oh my God! Get in!
A sudden downdraft from a thunderstorm exploding over Sydney's northern beaches.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Damaging and deadly.
Oh my God, the tree!
A falling Norfolk pine killing 68-year-old Sue Cobham. She would have been 69 today. Her companions, 71 and 19, badly injured. Patrol members from nearby Narrabeen Surf Club rushed to help, but Mrs. Cobham couldn't be saved.
You can never train anyone enough for the scenes for what they saw yesterday.
At the scene today, the broken stump, almost 2 metres thick, snapped like a matchstick. When the storm hit, Scott decided to move his car from his Narrowena driveway.
40 seconds later, the tree collapsed.
His wife caught it on camera.
Oh, God!
Scott is still rattled.
Well, I'm 40 seconds away from dying.
Today he and dozens of others face a massive clean-up. As well as trees, power lines and property damage, there's going to be a massive insurance bill for cars. Dozens damaged by flying debris, even written off by falling trees.
This guy's car got javelined.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
There was traffic chaos on the peninsula this morning after a truck carrying mulch rolled over on Jetty Road in Rosebud just after 6:30am. It spilled tons of mulch across the road, requiring excavators to be brought in to help with the cleanup. It disrupted traffic for more than 5 hours. Luckily, no one was injured. 2 survivors of Tasmania's Jumping Castle tragedy remain in intensive care as doctors predict a long recovery from shocking injuries. 4 days on, the desire to pay tribute remains strong in Devonport and across the country.
Arm in arm with Mum, a student returns to the school where 6 classmates lost their lives. The growing memorial still providing an outlet for a community's shared grief.
There are connections everywhere, and I keep hearing more and more. Everyone knows somebody.
Basketball's on a devoted player, Chase Harrison, the 6th victim of the Jumping Castle tragedy. Some on Tasmania's NBL team knew him, wearing black strips out of respect.
Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone in Tasmania.
The desire to help is strong. Musician Casey Barnes comforting survivor Beau Medcraft after his father reached out.
Hey Casey, thanks for all the support.
It's just a small gesture to try and boost their spirits and I think Beau got a lot out of it.
The singer in awe of the 12-year-old's bravery.
Beau explained to me that he was trying to help his mates and with 2 broken arms going in to try and help, and obviously there's only so much you can do.
As the makeshift memorial grows, attention now is on what to do with it. Devonport Council taking advice from Melbourne, which kept tributes left after the Burke Street massacre.
Our team went and gathered up as much as they could of the actual cards and things to make sure that they were preserved.
Not that anyone will ever forget.
Always. There'll be that gap for a lot of people.
Kate Jones, 7 News.
Tennis star Peng Shuai has reappeared to retract sexual assault claims made against a Chinese politician. In the unverified video, Shuai says she always feels very free and never claimed or wrote about anyone sexually assaulting her. But the Women's Tennis Association isn't convinced, arguing the appearance via state media does little to address concerns about her well-being. The federal government is intervening in a fuel supply crisis to keep Australia's transport industry moving. It's ordered a boost to production of a vital diesel exhaust fluid as a shortage threatens to drive up the cost of groceries.
A global shortage of the fuel additive AdBlue threatens to grind trucks to a halt.
We've been just calmly working through these issues, not just with the transport industry, but of course with the potential providers.
Announcing he's secured 5,000 tonnes of urea, a key ingredient in AdBlue from Indonesia. Brisbane-based company Incitec Pivot will now reboot its production of the fuel additive, increasing domestic supply.
When it comes to running a country, you have to focus on the challenges that are ahead of you.
But the industry is still concerned, saying it'll take too long to make the product here and they need short-term supply guaranteed.
It's been a daily struggle for operators to be able to get AdBlue in a variety of places.
Road freight transport boss Simon O'Hara says major cargo deliveries are already being cancelled at Australian ports. Shipping containers full of goods unable to be dropped off due to the uncertainty over diesel fuel supplies.
It is absolutely essential that we get this right, not just for the freight industry, but for the Australian community.
Trucking companies calling out for a long-term fix before their industry crashes.
There's an age-old saying that without trucks, Australia stops. And unfortunately, the fact is that without AdBlue, our trucks stop as well.
With a lot of families depending on the Prime Minister to deliver.
These are the people that have kept Australia moving over the last couple of years.
A deal with Middle Eastern companies is progressing. Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
Secret Santas in Melbourne's southeast have given battling families the ultimate Christmas gift. The generous couple walked into a Kmart store and paid off $10,000 worth of lay-bys just in time for the big day.
Christmas has come early for Keandra Balaz and her young children.
A toy truck and a toy car.
Thanks to the kindness of strangers.
That selfless act has done more for my family than I can even begin to explain.
The mother of two is one of hundreds of Kmart customers who got a call to say a secret Santa has paid off their lay-bys.
Instantly burst into tears and we went and picked up the lay-by.
The anonymous donors with a $10,000 gift. Their only wish for employees to choose lay-bys that were Christmas-inspired or contained items for children.
I think the intent behind the donation was alleviating some of the financial pressures for families.
New bikes, there was a bunch of toy cars stuff and Paw Patrol and a bunch of other little bits and pieces. Pretty much $300 worth of Christmas presents for the kids.
The generous act is even more significant in a year that's been challenging for so many and will perhaps inspire others in the community to dig deep as well.
It's pretty amazing, the people that did it. I wish I was able to do that for people myself.
We really have a lot of people coming in and supporting our Kmart Wishing Tree Appeal that do it in smaller amounts, but every year they support the Wishing Tree Appeal.
A noble deed putting smiles on kids' faces.
Thank you, Santa.
Can you say thank you, Santa?
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
Well, the Aussies are closing in on a thumping victory in Adelaide. Andrew McCormack, they're on track to go 2-0 up.
Hopefully, absolutely, Mike. Just 4 wickets needed now to take a commanding lead in the Ashes for the Aussies. England lost the big wicket of Ben Stokes this afternoon as Mitchell Starc heaped more pain on Joe Root last night. More shortly. Also, the AFL approves major changes to the match view and a crackdown on head-high contact. And the Sunday best, not from Tiger, but from son Charlie, who caps off an incredible weekend on course. Mike, there's only one golfer in the world more watchable than Tiger, and it's his 12-year-old son, Charlie. More on that in sport.
I can't wait. Thanks, Macca. See you soon. Ancient history is helping Victorian scientists solve modern-day mysteries. Up next, how an Egyptian mummy could be the key to bringing families the closure they crave. Plus, boys almost hit by a flying sheet of iron in Fitzroy. Growing pressure to force London into a Christmas lockdown. How Spider-Man came to Hollywood's rescue at the box office. And coming up later, car seat tips for parents with special needs children. Children have diced with disaster in Fitzroy, running from the wild winds that lashed Melbourne yesterday afternoon. Security camera footage on Napier Street shows just how close one of the kids came to being hit with a flying piece of corrugated iron. Winds of up to 65 kilometres an hour were recorded in the city. Scientists are turning to ancient history to help police solve modern mysteries. In a world first, they're reconstructing the face of a 2,000-year-old mummy with the aim of using the technology to identify victims of murder or mass disasters.
Dubbed Cleopatra Tia, this girl died 2,000 years ago. Her legacy could be to help find answers to identifying victims of crime and mass disasters in the 21st century.
This is fascinating work. It really is helpful to us in forensic science.
A team of Melbourne forensic researchers is conducting a world-first project on child mummies. They're using 3D printing and CT scan technology to reconstruct the face of Cleopatra Tia, whose remains are at the British Museum in London.
This project is part of a major study of 14 child mummies, the only one that's occurred in the world.
Based at the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine, the team includes a forensic Egyptologist, a toxicologist with printing expertise, an anatomy expert and a sculptor. They've innovated printing techniques to produce true replicas of the mummy's skull. Facial reconstruction is seen as an alternative to DNA, fingerprint and dental databases for mass disasters when victim identification can be difficult, including bushfires and plane crashes.
Sometimes these don't work, or we cannot find a link, say a reference sample of DNA to compare against.
Reconstructions would be compared against identity records such as passports and licences. Ordinarily, it can take months to produce a facial reconstruction. This project could see that process sped up to a matter of days for time-critical cases, including unsolved criminal investigations. On average, 2 bodies a year are found in Victoria that are naturally mummified. Reconstructing the face of a 6-year-old girl who lived in the time of Queen Cleopatra could help solve those modern-day mysteries.
This is a new approach, but it's also an approach that's founded in ancient science.
Cameron Bowe, 7 News.
Some scientists in Britain claim the UK could hit 2 million COVID cases a day by the new year, unless the country is locked down soon. But Boris Johnson's government is pushing back as parts of Europe face a Christmas in hibernation.
A long day of protest in Brussels against mandatory vaccinations for health workers. Ends with rocks being thrown at police and at least 13 arrests. As across the border, the Netherlands entered day 1 of a 4-week lockdown.
Well, basically everything is closed. It's such a bummer. But we hope to still enjoy our time here.
Omicron hasn't bitten as hard here compared to other European countries. The Dutch government saying it's getting in early.
This was more or less the moment to try hard lockdowns to at least make sure that the Omicron wave is flattened and thereby posing less of a burden to the health system.
In Britain, Omicron has sent cases soaring above 80,000 for a 4th consecutive day. Hospitalisations remain steady. Scientists predict cases could hit 2 million a day by the new year. Restrictions are still limited, but a Christmas lockdown isn't being ruled out.
We will look at this data, we will take into account other factors and then decide whether further action is needed.
Those other factors, the economy and politics. Boris Johnson facing new questions about whether he broke lockdown rules last time, with this photo surfacing of drinks at Downing Street. The Prime Minister facing another backbench revolt if he cancels Christmas for a 2nd year running. In London, Hugh Whitfeld, 7 News.
The latest Spider-Man blockbuster has come to Hollywood's rescue, raking in $826 million at the box office worldwide. The opening week result is the 3rd biggest all-time and considered an incredible result given the impact COVID has had on cinemas across the globe. The movie, starring Tom Holland, was released by Sony Pictures. Sonia Marinelli joins us now. And Sonia, what a different a day makes.
Oh, Mike, it's all about the timing when it comes to the weather, and we've certainly timed a run of mostly dry conditions to perfection for our Christmas countdown. This was Geelong today, and we're under glorious blue skies in the city right now with a mild 23 degrees. Wild winds dominated the weekend, but it is settled now under the influence of a high-pressure system, and there'll be another one in play over Christmas. That should keep the big day dry, but not as warm as originally thought. I'll have the latest model guidance for you after sport, Mike.
You're under pressure.
I certainly am.
OK, thanks, Sonia. Time's run out to send Christmas gifts through the mail. Next, the best time to do last-minute shopping as centres stay open for longer. Plus, tributes for the 4 victims of a Queensland plane crash. Masks on planes lead to a worrying rise in passengers behaving badly. And the driver forced to a quick change of plans. One of the year's most bizarre crimes has taken place in Donnybrook. Security camera footage captured the moment a man pulled up in his ute and used a tool to remove the axle and wheels of a family's wheelie bin. The theft took place around 11:30 this morning. The man calmly stowed the stolen wheels, leaving the bin behind as he drove off. Anyone who recognises him is asked to call police. Engine failure is being blamed for a light plane crash that killed 4 people in Queensland. A father and his 2 children are among the victims after their aircraft crashed soon after takeoff.
Salvage crews working in waist-high water to bring the single-engine 4-seater slowly to the surface. Roy Watterson had been piloting the plane. The 67-year-old successful businessman pictured here with his children, one of 4 killed. We all have different memories of Roy, but one thing they all have in common is his inspiring love for his family. 2 other crash victims, kids aged 9 and 10, and their 41-year-old father, Chris Mockanu, who worked at the business Roy had founded. I knew Chris and his beautiful children and am devastated by this tragic news.
We hope that we can get to the bottom of what might have caused this awful, terrible incident.
These poor little things have just passed away, you know. They're going to miss out on Christmas. Very sad. Very sad.
Parts of the plane wreckage are now destined for Canberra, where they'll be carefully analysed by the Australian Transport Safety Bureau. Engine failure is suspected. The landing gear could provide vital clues.
The wheels were actually down, so they're extended, and if you anticipated landing in the water, normally you would have the wheels up.
Ben Murphy, 7 News.
The festive season has kicked into gear with extended hours at Melbourne's major shopping centres. Chadstone is offering customers a way to beat the crowds as the shelves are stocked for a last-minute rush.
It's starting to feel a lot like Christmas at Melbourne's shopping centres.
Absolutely our favourite time of year, and the centre has been busy.
It's only going to get busier in the lead up to Christmas.
Really busy. This is my 5th Christmas here, and this year has just been insane.
Pretty much everyone's just excited to go on holidays, finally be able to lock down and be able to come out into Chadstone and go shopping again.
Grocery workers at Colonial Fresh Market are on track to sell 1.6 tonnes of cherries. Gift wrapping is big this year, with 20,000 metres of paper flying out the door at Card and Caboodle. And a gift card is proving the perfect present, with $3.1 million worth purchased in the last month.
Merry Christmas, everyone!
Families are desperate to get into the Christmas spirit, even with the risk of COVID in the community.
We just came today because of to get the photos taken, but rather be at home, really.
They're taking precautions to limit the risk.
Wear your mask, wash your hands, don't do anything stupid.
Those wanting to avoid the Christmas crush can take advantage of the website's real-time crowd monitor. It's updated every 14 minutes and lets customers know the best time to visit.
We recommend coming early in the morning before 11 or after 4.
Today marks the Christmas cut-off for express post deliveries around the nation. It's estimated 52 million parcels have been sent throughout December, putting unprecedented strain on Australia Post's delivery network.
We would always say it's better to come and experience the centre in person rather than ordering anything online.
And with Chadstone open from 8 a.m. till midnight each day until Christmas Eve, there's plenty of time to do just that. Ashley Kanowski, 7 News.
The death toll from a typhoon in the Philippines has surged to more than 160 people. Super Typhoon Rai hit the country's southeast, packing wind gusts of nearly 200 kilometres an hour. The storm has decimated communities, knocking out power to entire islands. More victims are expected as flooding subsides, allowing rescuers to access areas hit by landslides. Japanese space tourists are heading back to Earth after undocking at the International Space Station. The Russian Soyuz spacecraft was manned by 3 people, including a Japanese fashion designer who funded the expedition. The reported 12-day trip cost the tycoon $80 million. And a driver had to quickly change their plans when snow began filling the tunnel they were driving through in France. Snow piled up and blocked the entrance in the Pyrenees Mountains as the motorists reversed back out to the other side. Australian Airlines are uniting to ban abusive behaviour towards their staff. Mask requirements have seen a surge in aggression and flight crews have had enough.
A Christmas crackdown on unruly behaviour. Australian Airlines joining forces, launching a new campaign.
We treat everyone with respect, and all we ask is you do the same.
Backed by federal police and the Civil Aviation Safety Authority, it's a simple message to solve a problem that's taking off.
We've seen crew and staff being abused.
As borders reopen and full flights return, so is the violence, up 15%. COVID mask rules triggering bad behaviour.
Clearly there are people who are feeling the pressure, getting stressed by all the COVID restrictions.
When working out what to pack, there's one thing we can't forget. It's this.
Digital billboards will soon be on display at airports right across the country, warning carry-on behaviour will not be tolerated, and the penalties can be severe.
They can face personal fines of up to $11,000 and you could be put on a banned list.
The advice for travellers these holidays: be prepared.
Making your way through the airport may take a little longer than it used to.
There are new policies and procedures and protocols that you need to follow.
Don't carry on like a Christmas turkey while you're flying.
Avoiding any unnecessary turbulence.
Have a great flight.
Georgia Holland, 7 News.
Some lucky diners at a fancy hotel in Brisbane were surprised to find themselves seated next to George Clooney, wife Amal and Julia Roberts. The stars have been spotted at several locations across Queensland as the stars film a romantic comedy. Good news tonight for families hitting the road this week. Drivers are starting to see relief at the Bowser. That's next. Plus a warning for parents needing help choosing the right car seat. And the cute Melbourne residents preparing for a white Christmas.
Good penguins for Christmas and a happy new...
Melbourne motorists have been given an early Christmas present with petrol prices well down on October 7's year high. Fuel is currently 146.9 cents a litre at Shell Coles Express in St Kilda and nearby Caltex Woolworths.
We don't know when it's going to spike again. The expectation is when we get there or thereabouts, then we need to brace ourselves for an increase.
A dip in global oil costs is behind the falling prices. A growing divide has been identified between Australia's haves and have-nots. A study for the Centre for Population has found a baby boy born to a well-off family today will live nearly 9 years longer than one born to a socially disadvantaged family. The lifespan research also found the gap for girls was more than 6 years. Factors included higher rates of smoking and obesity in the disadvantaged communities, as well as risk-taking among young men. Car seats made for children with special needs will undergo crash tests for the first time. The Victorian Safety Review will look at restraints made overseas to give parents peace of mind.
A seat that could be carrying a child with disabilities crumbles, and this model is on sale for parents to buy.
Young people with disabilities and health conditions that are in car seats that perhaps aren't fit for purpose.
There are rigorous standards and testing for regular car seats, but none for seats made for children with disabilities. The Victorian government's developed specialised tests to help parents like Chris Pacheco Rivera.
It's actually very, very important. That will give opportunities for all the families to have this knowledge on what they can do.
6-year-old Jerome has cerebral palsy. His mother didn't realise specialised safety restraints were available for children like him.
We just thought that we might be able to use any other seat until we saw him struggling.
Research found many vulnerable children continue to be inappropriately restrained in vehicles. More than half the parents surveyed reported their child was able to get out of their seatbelt or restraint. Alarmingly, 10% said they'd even got out of the car and onto the road.
The findings will be shared with manufacturers to encourage design, improvements and innovations in line with the Australian standard for child restraints.
Georgia Bennett-Murphy, 7 News.
Checking the markets, and the ASX 200 started this week in the red, closing down 12 points despite a late rally. Energy, financial and industrial sectors all fell, while the share price of Sydney-based foreign exchange company OFX soared after acquiring a Canadian corporation for $98 million. Our dollar is buying just over 71 US cents. Tough and unpredictable conditions are being forecast for the Sydney-Hobart yacht race, but competitors will be relieved to just take part after COVID cancelled the race last year.
With just 6 sleeps until the start of the Sydney-Hobart, crews have been told prepare for an unsettled, uncomfortable and highly unpredictable dash to the Derwent.
I think it's going to be one of those times when the navigators are not going to get a lot of sleep.
The start of the race is anyone's guess. Forecasters predicting a possible nor'easterly to boost the boats down the coast, with sailors also told brace for a southerly change.
Question then would be what kind of strength that change will be and how that's going to affect those boats.
A key factor will be the timing of a trough, set to move across the coast on Christmas or Boxing Day, creating a challenging contest full of tactics and transitions. The forecast effectively ruling out a race record, but setting the scene for a thrilling journey to Hobart.
But I expect that mid-size of this fleet to be incredibly competitive.
It isn't just an unpredictable forecast navigators and crews are currently trying to manage, but also the unfolding COVID situation, as a positive case or close contact alert now could potentially rule crews out of the race.
Testing and isolation and all those kinds of things are all part of the preparation this year.
A quiet Christmas the price they'll pay to ensure they can take their place on the starting line come Boxing Day. Amber Laidler, 7 News.
Now, the focus may be on the North Pole at this time of the year, but those from the South Pole can still enjoy Christmas. Keepers at Melbourne Aquarium adapting carols for sub-Antarctic penguins.
Good penguins for Christmas and a happy New Year.
The birds are some of the few Melburnians who can lay claim to having a white Christmas. Sports next with Andrew McCormack and Macca. England isn't going down without a fight.
Oh, they aren't, Mike, but the tourists are digging their heels in on the final day in Adelaide. The Aussies went in for the kill this afternoon, but it didn't go all their way in search of victory. Plus, we'll tell you why more footy stars could be suspended next year in a match review crackdown. Tigers boy Charlie leaves the golfing world in awe, and the incredible rise of Aussie Ange in Scotland. Welcome back. The Aussies need just 3 wickets in Adelaide to take a commanding 2-0 Ashes series lead. Starting the day 6 down, the tourists dug their heels in before Jai Richardson made a late breakthrough. 6 wickets for a 2-0 series lead. Nathan Lyon set about spinning Australia to victory.
Struck in front.
Ben Stokes survived, but DRS would have the final say.
Lyon gets his first this innings, and he's got Ben Stokes.
The Aussie off-spinner with the prized wicket of the final day, a predictable tale unfolding for England's middle order.
Smith pouches another one. Stark has his 6th for the match.
Mitchell Stark should have had a 7th just moments later.
Edge, and through the gap.
As good as Carey has been up until this point, that's 100% his catch.
Butler and Wokes putting up some fight for the tourists. Steve Smith even calling on himself as England's 7th wicket stand stretched over 90 minutes before the second new ball did the trick.
Oh, got him! Richardson with the breakthrough with the new ball.
Before play, Mitchell Stark completed a welfare check on Joe Root, and while the English skipper could manage a laugh under lights late on day 4, he had little to smile about.
Oh no! Uh-oh. Geez, he looks in a world of hurt here.
Forced to hospital for a scan after copping a low blow at the start of yesterday, Root found himself hunched over in agony all over again.
He's in all sorts here.
5 minutes and a few deep breaths later, the best test batter in the world hobbled on.
Off and up he goes.
Before Stark got his man.
Edge and gone! Massive! Final over of the night!
The left armour thriving in the spotlight without Cummins and Hazelwood. Australia with all the right moves with a bumper Boxing Day at the MCG next. Aaron Finch says he's finally ready to return for his first game of the Big Bash season. The 35-year-old relinquished captaincy duties for the Renegades and has only been in the nets twice in his recovery from a knee injury.
I'll hit a lot of balls in the next couple of days, but yeah, all feeling good at the moment. So I think the skill acquisition part of it isn't something that needs a huge amount at 35 years old. I think there's a decent base to fall back on.
James Pattinson is a chance to return for Wednesday's clash with the Scorchers at Marvel Stadium. There's been a major change in the AFL's crackdown on head-high contact. Mitch Cleary is live with the details. And Mitch, the onus is now well and truly on the players.
Andrew, these significant rule changes will see players miss more games from head-high bumps than ever before. Low-impact bumps such as these from Joel Selwood and Lance Franklin received just fines in 2021, with their opponent getting up and playing on. But they're set to be upgraded to at least medium impact and a minimum 1-match ban in 2022. The AFL steadfast the potential to cause injury must now be factored into the impact finding on all head-high bumps. In 2021, it was only a consideration. As part of the changes, there will also be a stronger interpretation on intentional contact with an umpire, such as this from giant Toby Green that cost him 6 weeks at the AFL's appeals board. Meantime, the AFL has locked away the practice match schedule that will begin men's footy in just 73 days. Carlton and Melbourne will kickstart the pre-season series on Thursday, March 3, joining last year's finalists, the Bulldogs and Lions, and Essendon taking on St Kilda as the only 3 games in Victoria. Each club will play one formally sanctioned game and one separate practice match. The schedule released a little later than usual, with the AFL working through the country's ongoing border issues. Andrew?
Thanks, Mitch. Mitch Cleary there. Ange Postecoglou has claimed his first piece of silverware with Celtic just 6 months after taking over as manager. The former Socceroos coach guided the Hoops to a 2-1 victory over Hibernian in the Scottish Cup final.
Celtic. This feels like a significant moment, though, for Ange Postecoglou. What an impact he is making in Glasgow.
In the Premier League, Manchester City is 3 points clear on top after thrashing Newcastle 4-0. Liverpool's fiery clash with Tottenham finished 2-2, while Chelsea was held to a scoreless draw at Wolverhampton. Team Woods brought out their Sunday best for the PNC Championship in Florida.
I'm not used to this. I think this might be my 5th round of golf this year, 4th or 5th round of golf this year. I'm a little worn out.
Oh, it was great to see him and Charlie back. The Woods duo finished the tournament at second, and it was a dirty night for NFL superstar Tom Brady, who took his frustration out on this tablet. The 7-time Super Bowl champion was shut out for just the 3rd time in his career, the first time since 2006 in a 9-0 loss to the New Orleans Saints. Mike, the Microsoft Surface he smashed wasn't even invented in 2006, so that's how far along Tom Brady's
You'll
been
learn
at it.
this one day. You get cranky as you get older.
44 years old. Yeah, he's all...
Okay, thanks, Maggot. Sonia Manninelli is next with the weather. And Sonia, the Christmas Day forecast has been up and down a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It's dropped a little, Mike, but we're still looking forward to a dry, sunny day. I'll have the details next. Hello again. It was a dangerous weekend of weather which produced some spectacular imagery. These photos taken from Mornington Pier as powerful winds whipped up the surf. But what a way to shake it off and start a fresh week under glorious blue skies. A warm wind pushed up the temperature. In the city today we hit a high of 28.6 degrees and we're going to hold on to some of that warmth over the next couple of hours until a southerly wind takes hold overnight. And after reaching the high 20s around the city today, we are sitting on 29 right now at the airport, 27 and 26 in Scoresby. It is still warm right now across most of the state thanks to the day's sunshine and a moderate westerly wind, although today still fairly gusty down along the exposed coast. Winds clocked 106 kilometres an hour down at Wilson's Prom this afternoon. Tonight a high track south of the Bight, that's going to shift our winds around to a southerly, and then a weak cold front crosses the state overnight into Wednesday, and while it's going to drag in the cloud, it's not expected to deliver much in the way of rainfall. In fact, our rain chances are low over the next 7 days. In the city, a 30% chance of a shower on Wednesday. Otherwise, we're looking really good. Christmas and Boxing Day should stay dry. To the forecast now, we're starting around the nation. 31 degrees and mostly sunny in Brisbane. Sunny breaks and 29 degrees in Sydney, 26 in Adelaide, and Perth is heading for a top of 30. Back home, and cooler winds will keep a lid on the summer heat through the week. Tomorrow, though, we're under a moderate west to southwesterly wind with sunny skies. So a dry Tuesday, except in southwest Victoria, we'll see some showers or drizzle, most likely through the morning. Closer in, the sun out to play once again, tempered by a cool breeze. Most spots around town are heading for 25 or 27 degrees. Cooler in Rosebud, it should reach just 23 there. In the city, a gorgeous 26 degrees from a low of 14. The sun goes away on Wednesday, a top of 20 under cloudy skies. Cloud clearing on Thursday, 21. Christmas Eve is shaping up to be a cracker, perfect and 25 degrees under sunny skies. And then Christmas Day looking good, partly cloudy, a top of 21. And then we'll get a repeat of that on Boxing Day before a pleasant 23 on Monday. And with an outlook like this, it should make for a delightful Christmas spent outdoors. Just 5 sleeps to go, Mike. Can you believe it?
Yeah, no, it's getting close. Thanks, Sonia. Now let's see what's on Sunrise in the morning.
Thanks, Mike. Tomorrow on Sunrise, it's the ultimate holiday hack. How to more than double your days off.
The dates to book to turbocharge your annual leave, but you'll need to be quick.
See you in the morning, Melbourne.
And that's 7 News for now from the team. Have a great night.